We are now joined by Sal Lafriere, who is a security expert. He's a former NYPD officer and a homicide investigator. And Sal, thank you so much for joining us again. Walk us through, what are the interview steps that police take when interviewing children?
The interviewing children is one of the most difficult things that you can do. One of the biggest problems that children have is perception of time issues. So, how things happen in certain time frames as an adult would understand that children have a little bit different perspective of that. So that becomes problematic. They also become very influenced by what they hear on the radio, what they hear on TV, what they're seeing in the paper, from conversations in the neighborhood. So when it's sort of important that, especially in a situation like this, you want to get to them as quickly as possible to try and keep the outside influences out as much as possible. But as you said earlier, with the advent of the internet and with kids today at the age that they are being on,
they know.
They know. There's no mystery to what's going on.
Are you surprised that the law enforcement people in the state of Connecticut haven't even released Adam Lanza's name yet? Why are they being so cautious about that when federal and other state officials have said this is the guy who killed him?
Well, there was the whole confusion early on between him and his brother, who may have had the original ID. The problem that they're going to have is making sure that they have a rock-solid ID on him. If he's 20 years old and had no law enforcement involvement, chances are he doesn't have a record, so fingerprints are going to be difficult.
We're told he doesn't have a record.
Right, so that's going to be difficult. And it's the same thing with the children who were his victims, trying to get their identity and get positive identifications by the family. That's what's making that difficult and will prolong this to some degree.
Okay, thank you so much for joining us once again.
Sal Lafriere, appreciate it, Sal. We want to head back up to Newtown because this day of carnage began at a home, a two-story home in Newtown where Adam Lanza lived with his mother. His father and his mother have divorced for the last 4 years. There was a mystery there. We didn't know who was there. We were told a body, perhaps two, were inside the house, and now we have been told and have found out and confirmed that it is indeed the mother of the shooter, a teacher at that school, Sandy Hook Elementary School. Jim Hoffer is on the scene as he has been all day with the latest outside. Jim?
Yeah, Bill, law enforcement now telling us that, in fact, Adam Lanza, sometime this morning, we don't know exactly what time, but he went upstairs to a bedroom in the house here, the family house where the Lanzas lived, and according to law enforcement, Adam shot his mother, shot her in the face fatally. He then got into the car and drove the 5 miles. That's how close the school is, just 5 miles, apparently with an arsenal of semi-automatic weaponry, and went to the school, the elementary school, and carried out, according to officials, that massacre. If we take a look at some video that was taken within the last hour, you can see that this is still a very, very fluid crime scene.
Jim, I'm sorry, I need to interrupt. Jim, I need to interrupt you for a moment. We need to go to a live presser that's happening right now. Let's listen in.
It was a female, it was an employee of the school who was wounded, who was injured, and is doing well. Wounded in the foot. Definitely, yes. Yes.
Are all the bodies still inside the school?
I don't want to get into the details of it, but suffice it to say that the medical examiner has been on the scene with all the proper personnel, and they'll do what needs to be done. And again, primarily what we're looking at right now is the positive ID, so we can give some closure to people.
The complexity of this investigation, just in regards, we're hearing that so many rounds were fired. I know you probably can't comment on that, but this is going to be a very painstaking process for you.
I couldn't have said it better myself. This is the way we investigate major crimes, and for those of you that aren't here on a regular basis, it's a very meticulous process. We leave no stone unturned. We take as much time as we need. We use all the resources that we have available to us. We will do that in this case and then some. This is a case of extremely large magnitude, as you know, between Newtown and state police and our federal partners that we'll utilize, and even some out-of-state partners will help us reach out of state if anything crosses the state borders. It's going to take a long time. We'll be processing this building, and I'm just speculating right now, but at least until Sunday.
Sir,
at least.
Have you given access to the bodies of the deceased children?
No.
How are you managing the identifications?
We have a process in place, and that we're going to establish. We have a process established, I should say, in place that we're going to utilize to identify each individual.
Lieutenant, do you expect that to take the identification to take into tomorrow, or did that take into Sunday?
We're cautiously optimistic that we can have positive IDs by tomorrow. That's the professionals that are telling us that, specifically the medical examiner and his team, our investigators, and working together, we're hoping to accomplish that.
And does that include the body of the other crime?
The families have been notified. The preliminary identification has been made, and through process of elimination, unfortunately, the families have been told. But again, we want to be absolutely positively sure, no doubt whatsoever.
We saw FBI on the scene earlier when it was
yes.
crazy. What was their role, or is there still a role for them right now?
Well, certainly they're with us, working with us. There are federal partners here from FBI, ETF, all offering services and any specialization that they have, offering ability in case something crosses state lines. There's simply stated, everyone's come together in the law enforcement community. This is a massive investigation, so that many law enforcement agencies don't have to ever undertake. So we're certainly Newtown State Police working side by side and utilizing any resource that we may need, and we're very appreciative of all the help that we're getting.
Can you talk at this point that there's anyone
Yes.
but the perpetrator inside dead involved, any accomplice?
No, at this point in time, we're confident that we have the shooter in this incident.
Can you talk about the specific classroom? Was every child in that classroom now deceased?
I'd rather not do that, quite frankly. I've been a trooper a long time, and my lieutenant to my left has been in law enforcement a long time, and it's just something that serves no useful purpose. I'd rather not get into that. It's a horrific scene. Between our mutual experience, we've never seen anything like this. It's heart-wrenching for us as it is for the families, and I just would like to just leave that at
Did the shooter have a history with the school? Did he attend the school? What connection?
No, I think what we got to do, and it should be understood, we're looking at that. We're looking at all the history. We'll go backwards as far as we have to go in this investigation, and hopefully we'll stumble on answers, and we'll hopefully not develop many more questions. But we want to be able to build a process and build a story, and an investigation like this is like a puzzle. All right, we want to put this puzzle together and form a complete picture so that everyone, without any doubt whatsoever, can truly understand what occurred. So what I'd like to say is that we'll come back tomorrow in the morning, let's say 8 o'clock in the morning, to let you know how we progressed overnight. As we prepare the list of positive identifications, I want to do one list. I don't want to do a piecemeal. I don't want to do a couple here, a couple there. I want to do one final list. The minute that's done, we'll be here with it, and we'll also post it on our website so that it's available to everybody. All right.
What's your timeline for the other crime scene?
Lieutenant, of your officers with this situation, the way they were able to get those kids out of there and keep them calm and get as many out as quickly as possible.
These guys, when they got to the door, were first in the door, and the surrounding PDs and the troopers, their training kicked in. This is something that you train for, you plan for, you work towards, you hope to never have to use. And their training kicked in. They saved a lot of lives. They did a great job.
Extremely proud of them.
Tell us now about the shooter.
I'm sorry?
What can you tell us about the shooter?
I'd rather do that in the morning. And once we have positive identification, even of the shooter, we want to have all that information, and hopefully we can tie up some loose ends for you first thing in the morning. But I'd like to leave it where we are right now, and we'll fill in the voids tomorrow as much as we possibly can.
Is your timeline for the other crime scene the same?
I'm sorry, young lady. No, the Connecticut Medical Examiner is managing the cases, and he did request some assistance and equipment that's been brought in for him, but they're there working now.
So how did you first hear about this shooting? Who did you hear from? What did they say? Or what was the first word you could...
In a nutshell, it was 911 calls that came into Newtown State Police, and the response was instantaneous. Okay.
From within the school.
From school sources.
Multiple calls.
Yeah. I'm not sure, and yes, I believe so, but I don't know how many of hers. That was the next question.
Using the 911 call.
Authorities in New Jersey, and what are they saying about the father and the son?
We've been in contact with any authorities, our investigators, with any authorities that can assist them in furthering their portion of the investigation. I do know that New Jersey's been mentioned. There's been 2 or 3 different locations that have been mentioned, but not to read anything into that. If there's something significant about reaching over a state line or about doing something, that may be related to this case, we're not going to hide it from you. We'll make it available to you. We'll certainly provide you with that information, but don't read something into it just because you hear that we've gone to authorities in another state. That doesn't mean anything really.
Lieutenant, with the number of resources you have here for this, how are you delegating this scene in regards also to the rest of the state that has to be covered?
It's working fine. We've got people on extended shifts. Some people are going to work extra hours, and suffice it to say, everybody's all hands on deck. We'll get this done, and we'll do whatever it takes to accomplish this in a timely fashion. All right, I'm gonna end it because what I'd like to do is give you guys a break and give us a break, and we'll be back 8 o'clock tomorrow morning here. Okay? Thank you.
You were just listening to Lieutenant Jim Vance with the State Police talking about the painstaking process of this investigation, that it is an extremely large crime scene, given the school and then, of course, the scene of the shooting of the victim's mother. This has been a horrific scene. Again, Lieutenant saying that they aren't giving too many more details about the shooter himself. We're going to have to wait for that until tomorrow morning. He is expected to make remarks at 8 a.m., and we'll be sure to have that information for you.
He did say also that he could have all the identifications of the victims by tomorrow. The parents, however, have been already notified. Diana Williams has been in this small town of Newtown, Connecticut all day, a New England kind of town, and you described the buildings, and more importantly, Diana, you've been describing the people and the emotions you've seen on the streets.
Absolutely, Bill. And one of the things we've been doing over the last hour or so is trying to understand the security measures that were in place at Sandy Hook Elementary School. The principal, we understand, had put out a memo to all families outlining these new procedures that were going to be implemented at the school. Literally just in the past couple of months she put this out, and we've gotten a chance to kind of get an idea of what those security measures are. The front gates locked. All visitors after 9:30 would have to ring a bell for entry, and then they had to report to the main office in order to sign in, and then any parents would be required to show a photo ID if the staff did not recognize them. Maybe even if the staff did recognize them, they would be required to show photo ID. This was a new system that was being put in place at all of the elementary schools by the principal, Dana Hochsprung, and she was, as you may already know, one of those who was killed today. And we also discovered that she put out almost a haunting tweet in October. The tweet said, "Safety first," and it showed a picture of the entire student body outside the school for an evacuation drill. We're reporting from Sandy Hook in Connecticut. I'm Diana Williams, Channel 7 Eyewitness News. Back to you, Bill and
Yes,
Shade.
there is irony all around, to be sure. All right, Diana Williams in Newtown. How many of us thought about Newtown today? How many of us heard about it? Not too many, but now we do. It's become like the other cities we hear about, Columbine, VTech. We didn't think much about them, but they are forever in our thoughts for now. No question about it. 28 people in all, including the shooter, dead tonight.
Well, we do have a reminder for you this evening. There is a special 1 hour 2020 on the school massacre tonight at 10 o'clock. Then we will have a 1 hour special edition of Eyewitness News at 11, followed by a 1 hour Nightline on today's school tragedy.
Sade and I will be back here for Eyewitness News at 11 o'clock. We'll see you later.
People's children, brothers and sisters were taken from them. People's spouses, those teachers and administrators were taken from us.
I'm heartbroken, as I know all of you are. There's nothing more hurtful or more tragic than the loss of innocence, but no more so when those that are lost are young children.
By being here, you speak eloquently to the nation about the importance of your faith in community, in embracing each other, not just by your physical presence, but by all of your emotion. And you are sending a message to all of America. And believe me, the hearts and prayers of America